I think what you have to ask, and this kind of goes back to even like the whole summary of this workshop is like, what do you want out of your workday? Like, because I know Melissa and I are at this point, like, we could technically be making more and earning more money if we added more hours to our classes, but we don't want to.
Well, I'm really glad to dive into this topic. This is something that we are both kind of knee deep in as moms, and so
Hmm.
I would love to just start with a little introduction. Let people know who we are. So, as I said, I'm Melissa Muir. I'm an online teacher. I've got 4 kids, and we homeschool, and that's kind of my high level idea of who I am. But Abby, can you give us a little introduction as to who you are and what you do with your days?
Yes, absolutely. So I'm also an online teacher. I teach elementary art and some other handful of subjects. It's mostly art inspired stuff. I have a toddler. He is almost, let's see, he's almost 20 months old. Anyway, he's a toddler. And yeah, I really love finding out the balance, figuring out the balance between like working and not working too much and spending time with him and just figuring out all of that, which can be really liberating if you do it the right way, like it
Absolutely.
can be really freeing to do that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what I do.
Oh, that's awesome. Okay. Well, cool. It's a lot of what we're going to talk about today has to do with kind of balancing and figuring out how to then make the most of the time that we actually do have in order to get to work. So, let's dive right into it. Kind of, how did you get started with online teaching? I would love to hear what your first steps were.
Yes. I was pregnant and working as a kindergarten teacher, which I love, by the way. I always try to tell people that, like, I did not hate in-person education or anything like that. I definitely think there's a time and place for it. I may end up doing that someday, but I realized I was like 7 months pregnant. I was planning on taking the summer off to have my kid and going right back to work. And then it was a combination of two things. I started looking into childcare, was
Mhm.
realizing how expensive that was and
Yeah,
how my paycheck was going to go to paying for someone else to watch my kid. And then the other thing is I just realized I'm like, I don't want to be away from him for the first few years of his life, and like everyone makes a different decision with that, but I just really felt like I need to try this. I need to see if I can
absolutely.
do something. So, this actually the full story is that I was like really not sleeping well because pregnancy. And and we ended up having some kind of like weird electrical fire in our like box, our electric box.
Yeah,
So
circuit
weird,
breaker.
so random,
Whoa.
like super scary. And it was like water dripped on it or something like that. So it was like 4 in the morning. We figured it out. We got someone to fix it. But then I was up. And so I was just awake, could not go to sleep. And so I started getting on actually Instagram and was like looking up like how do I work from home? Like how do I'm a teacher, how do I work from home? And I
Mhm.
found Outschool on there, and a lot of people were still doing VIP Kid at the time. So that kind of just launched me into this. And it started
Wow.
off as VIP Kid with a little bit of Outschool and then turned into all Outschool, which was not the best plan. And then figuring out how to do multiple streams of income is where I'm at
Hint,
now.
hint, diversify. I love that.
Yes, I
Wow.
realized that was not a good
Well, I'm so
plan.
glad your house didn't burn down, but I'm glad you had a little mini
I
fire in there
know.
in order
I'm glad I was
to.
awake enough because I was not sleeping well to anyway. That's a
Yeah.
whole other
Oh
thing.
my
But
gosh. Wow. Okay. Well, that's kind of nuts. I have a similar story to you in that I kind of started on VIP Kid, but came from a brick and mortar, I taught Spanish, brick and mortar background, and then hopped into online and started having some kids. And so I also wanted to be at home, and we had decided on homeschooling as a family. And so that was something that was exciting to us too. So wherever you're coming from, this is something that can be for a season. It can be a part of
Mhm.
your brick and mortar and online teaching life. You can kind of merge those, or it could be kind of a solo thing. But if you're here, you're probably looking to add more to that online side. So
Yes,
um,
yes.
that is kind of going to lead us into our next question, which is what does your weekly schedule look like? How much time do you spend teaching online? Where are you spending those hours?
Yeah, so it does vary per week, and I know you know this, like it just kind of depends on what's going on in life and stuff, but it's usually 2 to 3 hours a day, like if we're going to average it out. I'll teach some in the morning, like around 6 in the morning here while my son is still sleeping. And those are my all school students or some tutoring students. And then I will live the morning and the day and then get to afternoon nap. He'll go down for 2 hours and then I teach every day for those 2 hours. Um, Monday through Friday, every single day, which is nice. It's nice to have
That's
the consistency of that too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I know families appreciate that when they're booking with you, but at the same time, as the teacher, that kind of keeps you going longer when you're like, I
Oh,
know that this block is going to be teaching.
yes.
So that's great for you. You're kind of taking advantage of those nap time hours, and you've got a couple early morning as well, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I really do like the early morning because then it's just like out of the way for the
Mm-hmm.
rest of the day. It is nice. I haven't figured out a super consistent schedule with that. We're getting there. We're
Yeah,
getting there with that one. But
yeah. It varies. It varies.
yeah.
I'm
And then
very similar. Go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say throughout the day, I also work on other things. So like I don't just teach online. Obviously, I have like three side hustles. But like so we've talked about this during the day. I do more unfocused work while Liam's playing or something like that, or eating a snack. I'll get some of my laptop work done, whether that's answering emails or creating resources.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's huge. That's again something I mentioned I learned from you because that idea of having vocabulary. This is an unfocused task. I could be helping kids get a snack, making sure they're safe, but also getting
Yes.
some things done on the computer. Whereas other times it really needs to be focused. You can't have any interruptions. So I love having that kind of dichotomy and figuring out which tasks fit where.
Okay.
Cool. All right. And I was going to say, I have a very similar schedule, 2 to 3 hours a day of teaching time. And then the rest is spent on some of those side hustles, which we'll get into soon. But when you look at that teaching time, it's limited. And so the idea of
Mhm.
scaling your business, as parents, we're not able to spend all day in front of a computer teaching classes. And so the idea is to scale by using these passive income opportunities that come our way. So, what are you doing to scale your business?
Yeah, it's I feel like it's like three different things right now.
Mm-hmm.
But they all are focused, which is good because I was very scattered in 2022. I feel like I was trying a bunch of different things, which is not always bad. Like you do kind of have to figure out where you're going to end up making money.
Yeah.
But I've landed on doing resources that I make from the online classes.
Mm-hmm.
So I know that they work. I'm already using them with real students, and then I'm making them into resources to sell. And then my second thing would also be affiliates slash social media, that whole avenue.
Cool.
And really, those are like just the two things I'm really focusing on right now. Because I have like five other things that I want to try, but I'm trying to, that's part of this whole thing too, is like figuring
Right.
out what's actually going to work. So those are the two I'm focusing on.
Absolutely. And we're going to get right into this amazing worksheet that Abby has created that kind of takes you through a few things to do. If you've got an hour to scale your business, what could you do? And step number one is identifying where the income is coming from. Where is
Right.
your biggest chunk of income coming from? And even since we did our last webinar of this topic 2 weeks ago, I was like, all right, I really am going to try this. I really am just going to spend
Good.
most of my time focusing on those. I have two that are pretty equal in terms of income, and I'm going to focus on those two and really do a really good job there. So thank you for that little tidbit of
Good. I'm so glad.
getting
That's
in my
exciting.
brain, making sure I spend my time there. So, but that kind of requires a little bit of doing your homework in terms of your financial tracking, your income tracking,
Hmm.
that sort of thing. So we'll get into all that. But I'm very the same in terms of teaching. We got some teaching income on all school and out school, some private teaching, a little bit of referrals, and those referrals sometimes lead to affiliate
Hmm.
marketing income. It's not a lot, but it is a part of the pie. And so kind of figuring out how to manage my time between those. But love that we're kind of in the same boat. And so
I
that's the sort
know.
of
It's so
thing.
similar.
But the idea is
Good.
a lot of teachers can do this. It's not
Oh yeah.
exclusive. It's not an exclusive club. We've all got these connections, I think, that we can kind of bring people into. And that's something that I like about it. I think the other part is like, which is your favorite part too? What do you enjoy doing? It doesn't have to be a chore.
Yeah.
If you can make it into something that you enjoy, it doesn't have to be that much of a chore. So Well, cool. Well, let's hop over to that worksheet you created because it is super duper handy. Now, for those of you who are watching this live, you have gotten a notification with all three of our resources from today. So one of them is a big list of links that we're going to mention. One of them is an editable version of this worksheet. One of them is a resource sheet that we're going to look at later. And one of them is an editable version of this and the link list. So those are three that are given to the people who are here in attendance. But for those who are watching online, take a look at this. Jot this down on your notes. Try to follow along on your own and really, really noodle it because I think it is really helpful. So, Abby, for the first one, you've got that you write down your top streams of income. How does this work for you?
So I just recently did this in preparation for this workshop. Just so everyone knows, I normally only do this kind of day-to-day once a month at the very beginning of the month because it is time consuming. But I wanted to make it real and I wanted to have the information for you guys. So my top is OutSchool. And that's art classes and a little bit of tutoring, mostly art classes. And that is at 51% of my income right now. And that actually is further down than it was 2 weeks ago, which is kind of funny and that's not because OutSchool has slowed down. It's because my other ones have kind of gone up. So again, that's why it's important to be doing this at least once a month because it's crazy how all of a sudden you just don't even know what's happening in your business.
Sure.
And then my next one is VEI. I do some tutoring on VEI, which is really cool because it's like I found these tutoring students. So now I don't have to go through OutSchool and AllSchool. I can just go through a platform that's not going to take a chunk out of it. So that's 23%. And that's part of the reason it's 23% is because nothing's getting taken out of that amount of money that they're paying. And then I've got AllSchool. And then kind of the rest I've got is just kind of like a bunch of random things. I've got passive income from resources, affiliate income, which that actually changed even from when I did it yesterday. I got some more this morning.
Nice.
And then, which is always fun when you open an email and you're like, ooh, okay, cool. And the same thing with the passive income. I also sold something this morning. And then also I've been doing one class with Schoolio, which I did not mention 2 weeks ago because I wasn't sure if they wanted me to yet, but they're branching out into online teaching. So just so you guys know, Schoolio is a Canadian homeschool curriculum. And they're starting to grab online teachers for it. And I'm not going to be able to do the art one anymore when July rolls around. So anyway, that's a whole other one.
Awesome. All right.
So I've been doing one with them. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Awesome. So you've got, and when you say resource creation, give us a little definition. What is that? What does that look like? That's Teachers Pay Teachers.
Yes, I'm on 5 different platforms right now, but you don't have to do that.
But the reason you're on 5 is very interesting.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Okay. That is true. So TPT, I would automatically start with TPT, just like if I'm suggesting doing online teaching, start with OutSchool. Like you want to start with the bigger, more well-developed one with automatic traffic. Like that's where you want to start. But then I also have, let me see, I got my list. I also have my website, and then I have a homeschool website that I just started posting on, and then I have a Nuggets of Wisdom website, which is supposed to be like a family safe PDF place where like homeschool parents can just know everything's already been vetted by the people in charge. That's another one I'm on. And then I'm also on Teach Simple. So anyway,
but you're repackaging the same resource.
It's the
in multiple
same
places.
stuff.
So
it is the same. Yep.
Work smarter, not harder. Just put it all in different places. And again, all of these resources are things that you're already teaching with. So for those of us teachers who are out there making worksheets, making graphic organizers and whatnot for our own classes, think about what you could do with that.
Oh, exactly.
I think that's just such a smart workflow.
And to give you guys an example of how the OutSchool works with the passive income, one of my OutSchool classes is a twice a week science and art class. So we go through science standards for 3rd grade, but everything's art inspired. It is so much fun. It's amazing. So I've been making curriculum for that since like October. And now I'm just repackaging it, making sure it's got instructions so that someone who doesn't have a teacher can just read it and understand it. So I have to add some of those in there. And then it's done. And then it's it's a product and I can post it on all of these other websites.
That's awesome. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. And you also mentioned the idea of fees. So Teaching on Outschool has a
Mm-hmm.
sizable fee of about 30% at the
Yes.
moment. And so that takes a big chunk, almost a third of our income out of there. All School also has the same. We both teach for All School as well. And so that's something that you also have to take into account. So when you're looking to then kind of diversify, look to places where you're not going to have a fee. Perhaps it is
Mm-hmm.
using something like Vay, which we're using. And if you're interested in trying that, you can take your camera and point it at one of these QR codes and try it out. But there are options out there for teaching on a platform without fees. And so try to find something like that. Become platform agnostic, if you will, and try to take your stuff somewhere where you're going to take home more of the money that you've actually earned. So
And that
that's awesome.
applies to passive income as well,
Hmm.
because every place you're posting your product, they're going to take a fee. So it's just like what we were saying, TPT is the highest, just like Outschool is the highest because they're the most established. And then as you go into smaller ones, I pay for my website once a year, but then obviously there's no fee when
Sure.
people buy off of it. So
Right. Yeah. All right. So you host on your website as well. True. All right. Interesting. Interesting. All right. Lots of different things to think about here. So again, as you're going through this, take some notes. We're going to look at this resource list later, and we've got a bunch of these names on there, which hopefully you can then kind of say, "Ooh, I'm interested in this." But that's the idea. Okay. So after we have this big moment of thinking, "Oh, great, where's my highest amount of income coming through?"
mm.
What would I do next?
So
On your
then
worksheet.
after that, you want to make sure that like your communication with parents and customers is next. And I've heard this just from like being in Facebook groups or just from other teachers, but like their business is founded on relationships. And I just feel like that's how life works too. Like
Yeah.
if you're a good human, people are going to want to purchase from you,
Yeah.
And so it's just the golden rule, just like treat others the way you want to be treated. So if you would like your child's teacher to respond to you promptly and in a nice way, you should probably do that too. And I've just found that this works very, very well.
Yeah, keeps that relationship going. Usually helps keep classes with higher enrollment for longer as well. So very
Exactly.
good. Awesome. Okay, create classes and resources based on customer feedback. So this means I can't just make a course about whatever the heck I want. What?
It's so funny because Outschool always says that, and like
Uh-huh.
that's their like, I know that's their
Yeah.
hook to get people, which it is true. Like they're not making it up. It is true. You can, but if you want to also make the $50 on average an hour, you can't just teach whatever you want. You got to do a little bit more market research
Yeah.
than that.
Cool. How do you do your market research? What do you consider a way to bring in those customer
Yeah.
feedback ideas?
My number one way right now, I've been teaching for a year and a half, 2 years, somewhere in there, is to just go by what parents are asking me. So if they're like, "Hey, I need this kind of class for my child," like that's pretty much what I have right now, and I just kind of go off of their feedback. Before though, when I was first starting, I started with what I was interested in. I knew I wanted to teach art classes to elementary kids, and then research by going on to Outschool and see what classes are trending in that topic, the wording people are using for titles, and then also going onto Facebook groups once I've done that. Facebook groups to just actually ask. Like you guys can do this. You can go on Facebook groups and actually ask real humans and real parents and see, what they would want their child to take.
Absolutely. No, that makes so much sense. I mean, and even I shared this before. I teach a few kids public speaking classes, and all of
Mm.
them were interested in being YouTubers. They want to be good public speakers because they want to be
Okay.
YouTubers. And so I was like, why the heck not? Let's create a class about that, but base it in public speaking and workflow and kind of figuring out what that would look like in terms of young creators.
I
And
kind of
so
want to take that class. That sounds great.
it was really fun to put together because I really had to like reflect. But I'm listening to the kids who are in front of me. So as I see a couple more people popping in, you guys are so welcome here. Good to see you guys. And if you do have questions, please put them in the chat. We're just going through this worksheet at the moment. And this was, if you were registered in the workshop, you'll see in the resource section, Abby put together this awesome worksheet with just a way to scale your business in an hour. So we're on number 3 at the moment. So scaling based on classes and resources that you've heard might be in demand. I use something called Answer the Public as well, which is just a free website.
Last time,
yeah, a free website where you can type in a keyword. So art classes, and then maybe you'll get a bunch of questions. How to find kids art classes? How much do art classes cost? I mean, any amount of questions you'll see on there. That's a really good resource as well. All right, number 4. Let's keep rolling. Update a resource or a class that's not working. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, this is okay. I'll start with a personal story on this one. When I first started, I really loved that OutSchool was like, we have flex classes. And so I was like, that's really cool. I'm gonna just make up my own topic that I'm gonna do no research about and just make an entire huge flex class about it. So I would not suggest that. Like, make sure if you're doing flex classes, you research before. But it was a really good idea. I just did not know how to market it and to explain to parents why this was a good class. So I have since updated that because I put hours into it. And just, I really did a really good job with the videos. If I'm being like objective, I did a good job with the videos. I did a good job with the worksheets, but I did not do a good job explaining what it was and why the parents should do this for their child. And so I've since updated that, and I'm working on updating the printable resources to put on TPT now, and I'm going to go through that in a couple of weeks. I have that scheduled. So
awesome.
Yeah, this is just talking about like, it's something good, you're a good teacher, but why is it not selling? Because it should be.
And Josie actually just put that in the chat, some tips for getting traction on flex classes. So what did that end up working? Kind of putting in some extra.
Yes.
Elbow
So
grease.
part of the problem is that I made it entirely too long. So it's been getting some traction, but if I were to do it again, I would make it shorter and like more bite-sized. I made it like a $50 course instead of making it something more manageable for parents. And I'm really just speaking art class. If you're doing a different topic like math, you could charge more than just 50. But I'm in my little niche of art classes, parents are not looking for a huge, gigantic class. So I've been changing it and making it smaller, and that's been working a bit better. How many weeks do you think is good? I made another one that's like a winter penguin one, and it's 4 weeks, and that one I would say is good for art.
Oh, cool. Okay.
For extracurricular. Again, if you're doing like math or reading or like a skill subject, I'd probably do longer than that. But if you're doing like a fun class, I would just do 4.
And this is for younger kids, correct?
Yes. Yeah. This is elementary.
So, thinking about kind of the life of a elementary kid.
Exactly.
Kind of,
yeah. Their attention span, they'd be done by
yeah. How many weeks can we stretch this out? Probably not. All right, cool. All right, so taking a look, reflecting on those things, that causes me some stress. I don't like going back and like admitting I was wrong about a class or a slide or something like that. Oh, this is great. But I swallow it, go ahead, do the work to kind of make it better, and then try to make it excellent. We want to put stuff out there that is excellent. So flex is seasonal. Do we think flex is seasonal?
Yes. And I was about to type this in. Beginning of the semester and summer is probably best times for flex. So if you can even make ones that are geared for those times, I think that's where you'd have really good success.
Cool. And Josie, let us know what you're teaching, what topic you're looking at. That would be fun to hear. All right, let's roll on to this 5th one. Market with valuable, shareable content. What do you mean by that?
Okay, this one, I've recently had this epiphany. So like in the past, like a couple months. So this is not like I've been doing this one for years. But when you are showing people on Instagram or TikTok your products, if you're just putting covers out there or just saying like, here's a discount code, like that's not the way those algorithms work. That's the way Facebook groups work, and that's great. You can keep doing that. But when you're on Instagram, TikTok, even I would say YouTube Shorts, if you're on there with your products, you need to be doing something that doesn't feel so salesy, because honestly, we're all sick of that.
Yeah.
Like we all are sold to all the time, and we just want someone that we can trust.
Mhm.
So if you say, "Oh, I am trustworthy," you got to show that to people.
Right.
So I just had one that was so easy to make, a little, and this is anyone, you guys can steal this idea. But during one of my online classes, I videoed what I was doing. Just to clarify, I did not video the students, did not video names or their voices. It was literally just what I was doing.
Yeah.
And so I showed, we did like a static electricity experiment with this art project that we did. So I just videoed it really quick with the balloon and the thing going up, and it was really cool. And it was 12 seconds. And I slapped some text on there with music, and it blew up on TikTok. So just, it doesn't have to be hard, it just needs to not be salesy. People just need
Sure.
to be interested in it naturally. And then because of that, people were going to my website because they're like, "Oh, you have a blog about this? That's so cool." So it,
Man.
yeah, but again, number 5 can also take a lot of time, which is why I put it as number 5
Sure.
and not higher up, because you can get really taken into that vortex
Yeah.
of
Well, and
social.
two things that I take away from that, as a homeschool mom, I and an online teacher, I'm on PPT all the time, but following certain people, you following another teacher that has
Hmm.
that puts out a lot of content for gifted kids, and working with gifted kids and trying to challenge them, but also make it, an agreeable experience. We're not just trying to shove more challenges down their throat or anything like that.
Yes.
I when I watch her content, I'm like, I like you as a person. I think you are really knowledgeable, and I think I would like to learn more from you. And so it's that no like trust factor that you're showing. It's a fun experiment. I know what I'm doing. Here's something that I can offer you. That's the type of thing that
Yes.
would then draw people in. Now, you said it can take a lot of time, but this is where skill development can kind
Mm,
of play a role, because as we get better at things like Canva, as we get better at social media, perhaps we do need a virtual assistant or something like that. But I think for most of us at this point, we may not have the budget to then look at a virtual assistant. And so I know that's my case. I'm not looking to invest in one right now. And so the idea here is that we can improve ourselves and get really good at something like Canva, and then be able to put out valuable content in the meantime. So that's great. All right, well, rockin'. So Josie, you're asking a little bit more about TPT.
mm.
Did you want to comment a bit more on that? Because I'm not a TPT expert.
Yes, yes. Okay, so it's actually great because I would say this about not just TPT, but like any of the other 4 I mentioned, or just if you're at all posting products. The rule is like 50, and that's
15.
kind of intense.
Is that
Like
how
that,
much you would upload like starting out?
it depends on what you mean by starting out. Do you mean like at one time, or like
Well,
you're
just
gonna
like
start?
so I just like I've uploaded maybe 10 so far, but I just set it
Oh,
up like last week. I think last week. Yeah, and I took like Lauren's course, which was incredibly helpful. Which was
okay, yeah,
awesome.
Lauren is amazing. Lauren
Lauren
Fulton is
is
who we're talking about,
yeah,
guys. Like, yeah.
yeah. Her course, and I didn't even do her membership. I just did her like I think it's kind of like her a la carte course that she has on just like the basics, and she just blew my mind because I was so lost.
Huh?
I was so lost. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this because I've been putting it off for months. So I was like, I need to do it, but I don't know where to start. And then Lauren, this course was amazing. But I just wanted to know, like, when you guys started your TPT store, did you upload like within the first month? Like, how many did you put upload, or how long did it take to make your first sale, or do you have any
Yeah.
recommendations to get traction on that?
So I started taking it seriously in October, which was not that far removed from this. Like I've been actually like, it's because I started getting them into the membership with Lauren Fulton, and I was like, "Oh, I
Yeah.
can actually be making some decent money off of this with what I'm already using." I actually started my store last year sometime, and like it was such a soft start that I don't even remember when I started, because I just didn't know what I was doing. It was like that too. Like I set up my profile. I don't know that I put any products up there until like 3 or 4 months later. And then even
Yeah.
when I did, I'm like embarrassed that people bought those. And I have since updated them. So I don't know that I'm like a great person to ask, because I don't think I did it right. But I have heard that once you hit 50 products, that's when you start making money every day. So I think that that's a good place to be
Okay.
going for, at least on TPT.
Yeah.
And the like other ones, it totally depends. Like I don't have 50 products on the other 4 platforms that I've mentioned, not even my own website, but I'm
Mhm.
still making money on those as well. It's just not as consistently as like TPT. So I would
Okay.
aim for 50. Once you hit that, then you can kind of like reorient and look at your statistics and figure out what's working and stuff like that.
Do they offer, I guess, is TPT somewhere where you could sell your lessons, like your whole lesson plans on there?
Yes, you can
I
sell
have
pretty
Yeah.
much
them.
anything. Yeah,
Do
Yeah.
you?
pretty
Okay.
much
I teach a
anything.
Newberry novel class, and so I'm not trying to make novel studies every 2 months, and so I buy them like $6, $6 to $8. I never spend more than 8.
Oh, oh
But
yeah, yeah.
they're full studies. I mean, like 50 pages of content.
Okay.
Um,
Because I
And
teach
yeah,
Spanish and I was doing the market research and I'm like, there's like printables and stuff, but I don't know if people, maybe there's just not a market for it or what it is, but I didn't see a whole
I would
lot.
think that that's because that's Spanish. I don't think that that's that people don't want it. I think that no one's making it. I would think.
Mhm.
mhm,
Okay.
So also go to Google and then also go to Facebook groups.
mhm.
If you
Okay.
can't, like, if there's no market right now on TPT, just verify that people on Google are looking that up and that
Mhm.
people in Facebook groups are looking it up. But I would think there are just not that many confident Spanish teachers who are going to sell their lesson plans.
Mhm. I would agree.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
Josie, one other thing is, I'm homeschooling and I do speak Spanish, so I don't really need the resources, but the idea of looking for communities, and this is how I market some of my
Mm,
courses, looking for homeschool communities. So Facebook is a weird place, but it is also a very helpful place because you can
Mhm.
join these groups. Florida homeschool, Florida homeschoolers, South Carolina homeschoolers, Arizona homeschoolers, join the group. Doesn't matter if you don't live there, and offer
Mhm.
what you've got. And a lot of homeschoolers,
Okay.
if you can get into some of those places, then a lot of homeschoolers will start talking. A lot of us are involved in different communities, be they in-person communities or online communities, and people talk and share what they're doing. So I think that's a really
Yeah.
good place to start, kind of branching
Okay.
out.
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, crack
I
in.
think it's really cool your niche too, because I think that there's such a need for it. And
Mhm.
again, not many people are very confident right now and just
When do
to go
you
for it.
guys, okay, so I started back in like full-time out school back in August of last year. And at first it was a little slow, but like it took off like once like September, October hit. And I'm to the point now where I can't keep up with as many students as I can take on. So when is the
That's
point
such
where
a
you
good place
guys
to be though.
yeah,
Right.
and I feel bad because they're like, we need classes this day, and I'm like, I can't anymore. I don't have, and I feel bad because I'm like, where do I send them? But
Mm.
then I'm like, should I start an organization? But I feel like that would just take so much of my time when I'm trying to focus on TPT, and I feel like if I don't focus on one thing, like starting an organization and TPT, I feel like it would be too much.
Well, then
But
ask Melissa about organization stuff because, like, I gave you the TPT side. Now she knows all
Yeah,
about the
orgs are
organization.
great, but you want to number one be super confident in the people that you're bringing on. You know, they're
right, that's
you're
the thing that
sharing your
scares
babies
me.
with them. You know,
Right.
uh,
That's what scares me because I'm like, how would I find someone that's going to teach them like I would teach them?
but
Put enough
question, Josie,
like as much
are you teaching?
effort.
Are you teaching one-on-ones?
I do both.
Could
So
you
I
could you do
do
pairs? I mean,
pairs like for the one-on-ones.
for the take your one-on-ones and say, hey, would you be willing to? I know that's tricky, especially with language students, because it's very hard to find level matches who have the same schedule and stuff like that.
Right.
But
I haven't considered that, I guess, but like I'm at my max because I try to keep my classes no more than 8 kids because I teach 4 to 7-year-olds and that just gets
Yeah.
too much.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
quick.
I'm so with you on
And
that
then
one.
and then I try not to mute them because I'm trying to listen to them speak Spanish, but then they all want to share what they got for Valentine's Day, and I'm just like, okay, let's move on. But like every week, like I get messages like we're looking for a Spanish teacher like for this day, this time, especially after school. Like I've gotten so many requests for after
Yep.
school, and I'm like at my max with the after school because I have my own kids, so like I try to teach mostly in the mornings, and I've even added on classes this semester to help with that. to get more kids in that way. But it's just come to a
All
point
right.
where I'm like, I'm working more than I wanted to work.
Yeah.
Because,
Can I make a suggestion
this is
here?
for
So,
you.
all right, this Abby's worksheet number 1. Check that out, because that first box is what is going to be the thing that's bringing the most income. Focus on that. But those next, few items down the line could be an org. Yes, it's going to take time. It's going to take legwork, but those students will be there next year. Their friends will be there next year. So it doesn't have to happen tomorrow. I think that urgency can kind of overwhelm. I've been there. But the idea that you're getting these requests is market research in itself to say, this is a need.
Yeah.
Recommend I tell parents that message me, because sometimes I've left them on red and I feel so bad because I'm
fine.
Like, I don't know what to tell you.
I know of a few. I'll message you after this. I know of a few language schools on OutSchool who would be willing to take on your students.
Tell them like, I just can't take you right now. Sorry.
So I would not leave them on red. Send them somewhere. I'll send those to you after. I believe we're already connected. And so the idea then would be, what can you do? Because you do have the ability to do this. You are a very capable online teacher and business owner in your own right. And so the idea here is to then scale. And so use that time to then put the pieces into place.
And that's what I was thinking, like maybe just wait until the summer, and then really start exploring that. And I know Katie has a course for that too. So I was like, maybe then
Katie's amazing.
This is Katie Geddes who we're talking about.
Katie
Everybody go follow her. Yeah, so she's got a great OutSchool organization course for this.
Because I took her course, starting out on OutSchool course back in, I think, September. And I feel like that's what honestly took my classes to the next level. That's what took them off. Because after that, I was sold out. Like, it was crazy. Like, I finished that class, and in September, October, all my classes were sold out. It was insane. Over maybe a month. And I was getting steady enrollments before, but I think just like the verbiage that she helped me work out in my descriptions and titles, and, just kind of like an audit that she did of my classes helped so much, because it helped simplify it. Because I think I was using too many words, it was just overwhelming parents. And the way that she helped me set it up with emojis and, stuff like that, made it simple. And I think that's honestly what did it, because parents found me and then they loved it. And I've had kids since October now, and they're like, keep going.
So cool.
That's actually a good side point, because parents are usually overwhelmed, stressed out, and don't have time to fully read.
And, you as the parent, you just skim stuff too. You just skim it. You don't actually read all of it. So
I never read it.
Right. So it makes sense that, other parents like you would just skim stuff and not actually look at all the descriptions. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Awesome. All right. Well, Josie, thank you so much for that idea. I mean, I think organizations are a really good thing if you're in Josie's shoes, where you're just overwhelmed with, students. However, that is a scaling project, and that's going to take some legwork. So keep us posted. I'm excited.
I know. I want to know.
I'm nervous, and I'm like, should I do this? Should I not? Should I do this? Should I not? And then I'm like, who am I going to hire? How am I going to know? That teacher is going to fit, because parents obviously love the way you teach. That's why they come back, and that's why they refer their friends.
Teachers are looking for organizations, though. I get asked all the time, is your org hiring? Is your org
they're
hiring?
Out there.
And when we do say that we're hiring, people jump. And so I wouldn't be too worried about that. I think putting together a good interview process would be the next step. But I'm going to connect you to somebody right after we finish, because
I think Katie helps with all of that, right? In her course. I don't know if anyone's taking her course, but her organizations, but I think she does all of that, right? Because you have to do all the legal stuff too, and that just all that makes me nervous. I'm like,
So I think what you have to ask, and this kind of goes back to even the whole summary of this workshop, is what do you want out of your workday? Because I know Melissa and I are at this point, we could technically be making more and earning more money if we added more hours to our classes, but we don't want to. And it sounds like you're kind of at that point too. What do I want? So that's kind of, you probably just have to sit there with a paper and pencil for a little bit and just sketch out your work week, what you really want. And it might take you a year to get there, but you could do it. You just got to decide now.
Yeah. That's Josie, a good point.
can I do a quick plug? Because in 2 weeks from now, I'm doing another webinar with a woman named Steffi, and she works with James Liu. If you've ever heard of him, he's kind of a really great niche teaching expert.
Is it the Teaching with Stephanie girl or a different Stephanie?
No, probably a different one. Steffi
Okay.
Z. Her last name is very long, and I have not learned how to pronounce it yet. But the few times that I've talked with her, Josie, she is the most motivating person, and we're talking about mindset and growth mindset, and like the imposter syndrome that a lot of us, all of us, suffer with at some point or another. And this idea of like this next step that you might take is huge. And so having this huge goal that's actually attainable, it's just going to take a lot of work to get there. What do you need to do to get there? And so if I can plug that, I think that would be a really nice option to kind of get you rolling there, just in terms of the headspace, because she's got a lot of paper and pencil work that she does as well.
Yeah, because I feel like I just need someone to like give me the little push, you know, like you can do it, just go.
All right, well, Abby, ready? Get your hands up. 1, 2, 3. We're gonna push her right now. All right, we're pushing you. Steffi will push you. Katie will push you. Because it sounds like a cool thing for you. But well, I'm excited for you, and we're gonna take a sidestep over to this resource sheet. We don't want to keep you guys too long, but we also do want to hear more questions. So if you've got more questions, put them in the chat. Unmute and just be like, hey, stop, because we do want to hear them. Here is the next step in this process. Now, we've talked about that hour that Abby kind of walked us through with that worksheet. But what if you're kind of looking for that next step? What if you only have one income stream and you're trying to figure out what comes second, third, fourth, fifth? These are some of the areas that Abby and I use to scale our businesses. They include passive and scaled income. So the things that we were talking about with TPT, working as a virtual assistant. I know a few teachers who have stepped away from teaching because they feel like they're even better at the virtual assistant stuff, marketing things.
Right.
Social media, leading and training other teachers, affiliate marketing, and then actual teaching. So Abby, what are your favorites on this list? Do you have any favorites?
I know this is probably such a surprise, but I like making resources. I really do. Like, I find so much joy in it. I think, Josie, that's where you've got to figure out too. Like, I think both directions you're talking about are excellent, and both are going to take time, and both are going to be really rewarding. You just got to figure out like what you really enjoy. So like, I am more naturally an introvert, and like I can obviously do things like this, but I also love getting a hot coffee in a coffee shop and making resources, and just that is like my favorite thing. So for me, an organization really does not make that much sense. Like, I'm not great at managing people, and that's okay. I don't need to be. So that is definitely my favorite thing, and I really love that I'm going to be able to do that even more over the summer and as we move to Thailand. Like, that's going to be my main focus.
I think that's so cool. And I love that it's changing with your life too. As you move,
Yes,
you're able to then take, something that may not be feasible if you're living on the other side of the planet, to then use that time in another way. That's really cool.
Exactly.
And I love the affiliate marketing side of this. A lot of my teaching journey has come from connecting. So I've been connected to the organization side of OutSchool and All School and other things that I'm working on by other people. And so when I get to then meet with teachers and refer them to a platform to teach on All School, for example, then I can connect them to some of the products that I like to use, like an ESL Pals curriculum or a platform that I'm using, a tool that I'm using to teach. So those are the types of connections that then lead to minimal income, but it's income all the same. So
yeah, that's it. And Melissa, it goes with your personality too. Like, you're more of an extrovert and relational, so it just makes sense. Like, I like that.
That's true. And your art side too. I could never, I cringe at resources. Resource sheet, I meant to say this resource sheet, because when I was sitting down making it, I was like,
beautiful.
What template could I use? I'm not creating anything out of the blue. So that artsy creative side of me is not there like it is in you. So I love that we're able to kind of take our strengths. Yeah. All right. So as we kind of come to the end of our time today, I just want to show you what was in the resource section of what you were sent if you were registered for this workshop. So you got this resource list, you've got Abby's worksheet, and you've got this list of links that are lots of good useful things that we hope that you'll check out. So that will be in there as well. Now, we're at the end. What questions do you have? What types of things are on your mind? For those who are here, I know you guys are maybe teaching in a few different places, but I'm wondering what you're leaning towards in terms of scaling. Some of the things that we had seen before was kind of taking that next step toward leading an org, in Josie's case, perhaps starting a TPT store, perhaps working with an affiliate as an affiliate. I guess until we have any other questions, Abby, how did you get started working as an affiliate with some of these brands?
I want to say that just kind of naturally happened, as it should. I really like posting to my Teaching Together Instagram, which is how I know most of you. And I was just doing that just because I enjoy it. Like, I just like sharing, like how I live my life. And actually that one is doing better than even, I feel like, my Art Venturous Animals Instagram. And I think it's because it's just more natural. Like, I just naturally do that, and so because of that, I had brands message me and be like, hey, it seems like you would fit with this. Do you like this? And I've turned down quite a few because, again, like, I do enjoy some affiliate marketing, but I have to be like really careful with it because like it's just not very much my personality. So the ones that I am affiliates for, I really do love them. And then there was one brand that I went after, and I actually emailed them and I was like, please, you don't understand, I use your products all the time. It's my planner. I use Bloom planners all the time. And I use them for everything. And so I have like all their products and stuff. So I was like, please, I'm already spending so much money. Please just let me something. So anyway, that
awesome.
was the one that I hunted down.
That's awesome. Same deal with me. The few that I'm working with, they're just things that I love. I'm already posting about them, and they're like, "Hey, here's an affiliate link. Just use this.
Use this."
Pass you a and yeah, I think when you share about the things that you love, it's a really natural, and it feels like you've got integrity when you're sharing about something you actually love. So again, we want to know and trust these people that we're buying from and working with. So. That's awesome. All right. Well, any further questions? Abby, anything else that you feel like we missed or we could touch on?
I think I would just go back because I was just thinking about some questions from the other workshop. And like some people are listening to this, you might be listening to the recording and you're just like overwhelmed. You're just like, I'm not making any money. I don't know where to start. I know something needs to change. And I would say if you're doing online teaching, start with OutSchool, do research before you just put up classes, and then go that direction. And then once you get that established, it kind of goes back to that first thing again. Like once you get some money coming in, then you can kind of start branching out. That way you get the security, but you've got to start somewhere. And so I'd always start with the top. And then if you're going to do that with passive income, resources, start with TPT. And I know they take a big cut, but they also do a really good job. So start with that and then branch out to other places.
Cool. Yeah. And I think finding tools. I love Josie. Thank you so much for speaking up about Katie and other courses with Lauren Fulton.
Yes.
I know those are helpful things that you all have used, and I have yet to step out into that, but I love hearing that those are helpful because it shows that these other teachers have created something and they're sharing with you guys, and that's a source of income for them too. And so there's this circle of kind of sharing what we've learned, sharing the connections that we've made over the course of our many adventures of teaching online. So it's really cool. All right. Well, here we are. We are near the end, but I do want to share that today's webinar is put on by Vay. Vay is a platform that teacherpreneurs can use in order to host their classes. So this is a place to host. It's not a marketplace. It's not like Allschool or OutSchool where they're marketing your classes for you. The idea is that you would put up your courses here, and it's a place where students can then click your landing page, schedule their course, pay for their course, and attend their course, and you can have some messaging features on there. So a nice tool to use. If you'd like, you can point your phone's camera at that QR code and get started there, and you get cash, which is fun to start with your first course. But Abby, this is so fun. I'm so glad we were able to do these too. So very fun to find
I know,
kindred
this is really
spirit in this
good.
space.
And I saw one more question, but I can make it a really fast answer. And I
Yeah.
think it would kind of sum it up. So, use your time wisely when you're doing market research for online classes or TPT or anything like that. Just take your topic that you're thinking about making stuff about, type that into either TPT search bar or Google, and then look at the keyword that comes up after it. So if you're doing reading, I just researched this one for a different project. If you type in reading, right now, reading comprehension almost always comes up. If you type in Spanish, it might be something else. Spanish worksheets, Spanish curriculum. And so that'll kind of guide you into like what people are needing right now.
Okay. So you're talking about fill in the Google, you start typing and then whatever comes up
Do
next.
it with online classes too. I've done it with art classes too. So
cool. Good tip. Good tip. All right. Well, thank you so much, Abby, for sharing your wisdom, and for you guys who are here today. Good to see each of you, and see you out there. Happy teaching.